to the place in the middle of the sun. And we'll sing this song, sing it one by one.
Hey guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Got another great show for you today. I really enjoyed my conversation with Dr. Jeannie Michel. And today I talked with her about presence and showing up in the relationship. And she super fun to talk to. You'll see immediately. She's just full of life and full of great actionable tips about how to be more present in the relationship, why that's so important, and how to show up. We can do this individually and maybe share this with our partner. It's super valuable. And not just in your relationship, in work, if you have kids, it's something that I'm definitely working on, is showing up and being present in my life. And I just loved Dr. Jeannie's perspective. We talk about specific tips on how to do it and really get into the neurobiology of some of these things. So scientific explanations for why this is so important that I really enjoyed. And don't worry, it's not too dense. She keeps it light and fun, and you will see why. And tell you a little bit about Dr. Jeannie. She describes herself as part teacher, part modern day philosopher, and part change agent. She is passionate about helping people create extraordinary lives and relationships that thrive. And you will see that passion, as I said, in today's discussion. As always, thank you guys so much for tuning in, for leaving those reviews, and for sharing the podcast with your friends and family. I'm really just here right along with you guys, getting this information, trying to apply it to my life. And I'm just so thankful to be able to do that and just be the intermediary, and thankful to people like Dr. Jeannie for coming on and sharing their professional perspectives. As always, thank you guys so much. Enjoy today's show. Today's episode is brought to you by our online course, Spark My Relationship.
Do you guys want to create more passion, improve your communication, and build a stronger, more intimate connection with your partner in less than 90 days?
Yes, sign me up.
Then you guys need to check out our online course, Spark My Relationship. It is an online course, like I mentioned, that we created with over 15 therapists and psychologists to bring you guys the strategies marriage therapists teach their clients.
We talk about it on the show. Relationships take work. Sometimes they function pretty easily and you coast along, but we've found the reality is you have to do work sometimes and to make them better, to change them so that they're more satisfying for both partners.
And you've made it here. You've made it to listening to our show. So you guys probably already know that a little bit, but what you might not know are the specific tools and exercises that you need to create those lasting and positive improvements in your relationship. And like Chase said, change does not happen on its own. It takes hard work, and that's why we created the course.
Spark My Relationship is designed to infuse your life and relationship with fresh passion, skills, and wisdom. And it's a self-paced journey that's perfect for turning up the heat, having some fun together, and revolutionizing your intimacy and communication.
And just some tools and strategies that the course includes is how to eliminate unhelpful old habits, develop mindful awareness to help improve your stress management, learn healthy and successful communication tools, create a deeper and more intimate bond, and strengthen your couple microculture, which you will find out what that is, in the future together. So for our listeners only, we're offering a special of $100 off the course. Visit sparkmyrelationship.com/unlock to unlock your discount. And there is a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there really is no reason to not give it a try. So go to sparkmyrelationship.com/unlock for $100 off.
Hi, Dr. Jeannie. Thanks so much for joining me on the show today.
Hi, Chase. I'm really happy to be here. Looking forward to it.
Today, we're going to talk about presence, the power of presence and showing up in the relationship. Can you start us off by telling our listeners what that means to you, being present individually and in a relationship and showing up? And then we'll dive in to how we can do it.
That sounds great, Chase. I would be happy to. I don't know about you, but so many people these days talk about mindfulness and being present and what that means. And I think it's kind of layered. When you think about it, I think, okay, yeah, it's important to be present. You have, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and it's like, be in the moment and all of that. But what does that really mean when it comes to relationship? And what does being present really look like? As I started to think about it a little deeper, what came up for me is the idea of noticing. I don't know about you, but when, I have kids and I actually have a grandson as well. And when I am present with him, when he's doing his whatever, and I sit there and I notice and I pay attention to what's going on with him, it's like I enter into his world. And when you're noticing your partner, or even, as you're taking a walk, if you're just by yourself and you notice the trees or the things going on around you, it takes you out of that monkey mind that we have that can always run, or it can not always, but it runs quite a bit of the time, and, it can produce anxiety or depression or, self-doubt. But when you can simply notice those things around you, there's something, I think, kind of magical that opens up when you pay attention, and it opens up in relationship, and couple relationships too. So before I go any further with that, what comes up, what sparks for you as I, kind of mention the idea of noticing? How does that hit you as you think about that?
Difficult.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
I think difficult and important. I mentioned to you before we started recording that presence is something that I'm working on. I've always been working on. And I don't think I'm incredibly distracted, but I do think I have a lot of room for improvement there. And I recognize that it's such a powerful thing individually and in relationships. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and you really see it with kids. Kids are always present, when they're little. That's just like the default mode a lot of times. I won't say always, but a lot of times they're in the moment, and it's kind of inspirational to me. And I recognize when I'm not in the moment, and it happens, I guess, more often than I would like. So it's something that is difficult and does take deliberate practice. And I recognize the benefits when I do that. Like I said, individually and in relationships. When I'm present with my daughter, it's beautiful. And you see the world differently, and the details, and with friendships and partnerships as well. And it can give me more gratitude and just good feelings, instead of just being wrapped up in a lot of times a negative thing in my mind, or worrying about an email I have to send or work. So I guess that's the long-winded way of explaining how I think of it.
You know what? And Chase, that's really beautiful. When you talked about your daughter, it brought me back to a moment years ago when my son was little, maybe a couple of years older than your daughter. And, I was coming home from work and I'm thinking about things, and he's asking me questions, and I'm talking to him and I'm looking around, but I'm really not present. He took his 2 little hands and he put them on my cheeks. And he turned my face so that I was facing him and looking in his eyes. And it brought a tear to my eye. And I'm like, oh my gosh, he's saying, pay attention to me, be present with me. And that stuck with me for a really long time. This whole idea of this little kid, and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I'm answering his question or whatever, but it's different. I'd call that with kids kind of sitting on the floor with them. That's how I would view that with children, just being right there. And I think, I love the idea of starting with kids, because I think in some ways it's easier with kids And I know children can be challenging, but they can open your hearts faster than anything else. That's why I think we see so many little clips of videos of babies and little ones and animals too, and puppies. And we look at that and they just bring this natural joy, as you said, with how they just show up. And for the most part, they're able to be in that presence until they start to become older and adolescents. And then I think they move a little bit more out of that. But going back to that idea of sitting on the floor, you're sitting on the floor with the child and you're playing with their toys or whatever it is, and you're right there with them. I think there's something about that totally opens your heart. And I think in those moments, like you're fully in that heart open space. And there is an exchange that goes on between you and the child. And again, I'll make the leap over to adult relationships in a moment. But I love, Dan Siegel has this thing called interpersonal neurobiology, very, heady term for what he calls mind. And mind to him, the way he describes it, and I love it. I'm a student of his and he's amazing. But again, very intellectual and heady. But what it comes down to is mind isn't your brain. Mind is your entire being. So we each, as you said, kind of individually have this mind that is our spiritual health, our mental health, our psychological health, our physical health. All of those parts of who we are creates the whole mind of our being. And then you're with somebody else, a child or someone you're in a relationship with, and they have their whole of who they are, their mind. And he describes the interpersonal part as there is a mind that connects the two, and there's like a relational mind that is between you. And there are things that you pick up on that you don't cognitively recognize in the moment. There are ways that you see and you just intuit and you know things because of the way when someone you're really close to, that sense of shared mind, if you will, shared space, however you want to look at it. And the more we can be in that moment with that person and set things aside, the more I believe that we light up that space. As adults, I think that we carry this backpack with us, and it has all of our past experiences like rocks that we carry in the backpack. Something happens in the present moment, and when you tend to overreact in that present moment, it's probably because it triggers something from the past, and I think most people these days realize that. Although when you're in the moment, it doesn't feel like it. It feels like this person is making me upset about whatever. And when you can practice, as you said, it's not easy sometimes to be in the moment with the person in front of you. I think it lightens the load just a little bit. And you open into, again, that space of that shared mind or that shared energy, if you will, or that space between. So I just said a whole lot. Anything in that spark you or stand out for you as something that you're curious about or that you can relate to?
Absolutely. I just recorded a show with Julie Manano, who's a therapist, and we talked about attachment styles. And you mentioned when describing the interpersonal neurobiology, like the entire being. And we are dense. And when you start to think about your attachment styles and how that's formed in childhood, and all of these things are important to understand, but ultimately the way to navigate them and individually and in the relationship in that shared space is through presence, right? Because I think that our default response a lot of times, whether it's anger or anxiousness, frustration, a lot of times we might not being present, that we're getting overcome by these emotions, and it's like the past is creeping in and shaping how we're functioning individually or in the relationship. So that's kind of what is triggering me, especially after having just recorded this show, of that if I can be present and I'm anxiously attached, just present to that idea, and then instead of going to my default response or negative cycles, being present is such a valuable tool to be able to hack that and go, no, I'm going to do something differently for myself, for my relationship with my daughter. It's incredibly powerful, but like I said, difficult to do. So maybe you could comment on what I just said and then tell us about some ways that we can practice presence, some tools to bring it into our life.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I love the attachment and learning about attachment. So that's almost like a great precursor to this interview, because these styles, as I'm sure you talked about, we develop, they're adaptations that we develop through, in our childhood that we carry with us into relationship. And I think one thing that's really important that you mentioned, and, when you identified the anxious, attachment style, first there's a level of awareness. It's like, oh, when you see those characteristics, it's like, wow, that kind of is how I show up, especially when I'm under stress, and what can I do about that? Okay. Well, first, again, coming back to presence, I notice it. You start to cultivate, it's like working out. You start to cultivate these muscles of awareness. So now that you have an idea, and especially I'm sure as you do, if you have done or do work in that or read about it, you can identify some triggers that may have happened, when you were younger, or how things were set up for you in the parental dynamic. And when you are aware of those, okay, you can begin to show up differently. The first step is awareness. So you're aware of it and you're like, oh, I'm starting to feel anxious. It doesn't mean you shove it down and you make it wrong. Oh no, I don't want to feel anxious. I just want to be positive. You're like, okay, what's coming up for me? And I believe that you sit in that space for just a little bit and see what's coming up and see if there's any, information that's coming forward for you. And then you're like, okay, how do I want to be right now? And I realize it takes a little bit of thought and practice, but how do I want to be right now? Okay, yeah, I'm feeling really anxious. And if you're with a partner, you can say, you know what, I am feeling myself starting to get anxious right now. So give me a minute and let me think about that. And as you start to develop a language around that, your partner can say to you too, okay, I'm feeling, kind of anxious, or I think you're feeling anxious right now. And then you say, okay, how do I want to show up? I want to give you the benefit of the doubt. I want to be present. Let's talk about this, whatever it is that you're causing you to feel anxious. A lot of times it's not getting a return text, or it can be something so little. But then you develop a new way of being so that you and your partner can support each other. Or, when you're by yourself, it's like, okay, how do I want to show up? And you start to take steps. It's like baby steps to show up differently. And you will start to see the fabric of your relationships becoming healthier. And it's interesting how one person in a dynamic or in a system, whether that's with a child or in a relationship or with a sibling or a parent, changes, and it changes the fabric of relationships. So coming back to what can we do about it, I think A, awareness. And I think B, when you start to feel these things coming up, I also like the idea of, this isn't the time for me to work on this right now. I need to be really present with whomever. So I'm going to put it in a box and set it over here, and I'll think about it a little more tonight. Right now, I want to sit down with my daughter on the floor and play. And, I'm going to set this aside, knowing that I'm going to come back to it. Or you have it in a journal and you write it down. Because otherwise, if you don't tell your mind, if you don't have a placeholder for it, that's when the ruminating thoughts occur. And it keeps kind of haunting you. So you have a place, you put it aside, and then sometime you come back and you journal about it, you think about it, you work with a coach or a therapist to kind of help you move through that. But I think the power of deciding is very potent. And the people I work with, I talk about the difference between an I'll try and a commitment. I'll try gives you wiggle room, Oh, I'm going to try. I'll try to be there by 5. Yeah. Mm-mm. But it's like, okay, I'm committing. I will be there by 5. And if something happens where, I just can't, I will let you know ahead of time. So it's also, I think the power of presence is also being in that space of integrity with yourself first. Because how often do we not show up fully for the things that are important to us? Sometimes, we can tend to be people pleasers and show up for everyone else. And anyway, that's a whole different topic. I won't go down that road. But I think the first is, starting to notice that within yourself, starting to practice being present. and then watching how some of your relationships shift. And then I'd love to hear from you. And then I have another thought about when you get triggered.
So much there. I'm taking
I
all
can
kinds
go
of
on and
notes.
on.
No, it's great. I love I'll try versus commitment. And it kind of triggered this idea in me. I was a college basketball player and been an athlete my whole life, and talk a lot about commitment, like in that sense, or maybe someone listening with work, right? Committed to work. And I think I personally, and then I think I can't speak for everyone out there, but I know my circumstance is not unique, that we might not take that same external commitment to finishing a project, showing up at work, completing a race, as we do to our personal development, as we're talking about. And I think I sometimes will say, I'll try. Like, I'm in between sometimes. And I think that's okay. And I have to allow that space. But really framing it as a commitment to ourselves and then to our partner or our friends or our family is really valuable. And I want to do a better job of reminding myself of that commitment, because I think that's important. That's the foundation of our lives. Our work, our careers, and whatever we're doing are important, but not as important as being with ourselves and in our close relationships. So I think that I just want to emphasize I'll try versus full commitment.
You know what? I love it. And it doesn't mean that you can't ever say I'll try, but I think that when you are with somebody, if you're with to say I'll try, you distinguish in your language. So you know that you've got the language of an I'll try means, you know what, I'm not fully committed, but I get it's important to you and I'm going to see if I can work it out. As long as that's the language that you have between you, that's awesome. And when you say a commitment is a line in the sand, I think it's powerful and it's empowering. And as you said too, coming back to, I think the people we short the most quite often are relationships, and ourselves. Don Miguel Ruiz has this book many people have heard of, I'm sure, called The Four Agreements. And one of those is to be impeccable with your word. That doesn't mean perfect. It means be honoring. When you give your word, to me, the way I see it is respect your word. Respect your word to yourself and respect your word to your children. Respect your word to your friends, to your relational partners, and to whoever you give your word to. And I think what that tends to do, Chase, is that also up-levels our self-esteem. We start to feel better about ourselves when we're in integrity with our word. And I think that also supports the idea of presence too, because I think that allows you to consider, the whole relationship and place it in high regard, And I think that it shifts. When one person makes a shift like that, it tends to shift the dynamic, as I said earlier, of the relationship. And I think in very powerful ways.
Before we continue on, we're going to tell you about today's sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp.
Nowadays, it is definitely okay to talk about our mental health and happiness. We are not meant to keep everything inside, and therapy truly helps. But what is therapy exactly? Well, it is whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're struggling in your relationship, or maybe you are super happy, but you want to be proactive in your relationship and look for some tools that might help you in the future. Or maybe you just feel overwhelmed with life and need someone to talk to. Whatever you need, don't be ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better today, because you deserve to feel happy.
And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours.
Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really all about. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/ido. That's help, HELP.com/I-do. Today's episode is brought to you by ZocDoc. I am horrible about going to the doctors for my annual checkups. So when I need to see a doctor, I usually need to see one immediately. Not in a few days, not in a few weeks, and definitely not in a few months. And if you're like me and need to see an MD ASAP, ZocDoc has got a solution for you. With ZocDoc, you can search for local doctors who take your insurance, read verified patient reviews, and book an appointment in person or video chat. You'll never have to wait on hold with a receptionist ever again. Whether you need a primary care physician, dentist, dermatologist, psychiatrist, eye doctor, or any other specialist, ZocDoc has got you covered. Just download the free ZocDoc app, the easiest way to find a great doctor and instantly book an appointment. Every month, millions of people use ZocDoc, and I am now one of them. It's my go-to whenever I need to see a doctor because it saves me so much time and I can do everything from the app. Go to ZocDoc.com/I-do and download the ZocDoc app to sign up for free. ZocDoc truly makes healthcare easy. Now is the time for you to prioritize your health. Go to ZocDoc.com/I-do and download the ZocDoc app to sign up for free and book a top-rated doctor. Many are available as soon as today. That's ZocDoc, ZocDoc.com/I-do and download the ZocDoc app to sign up for free. Today's episode is brought to you by Bonafide. Bonafide offers naturally derived products to treat menopause, PMS, and intimacy issues. It's easy to use, safe, hormone-free, and recommended by thousands of doctors. Bonafide believes you deserve relief without compromise, so they've spent years researching and testing the purest ingredients to create safe and effective solutions. If you're experiencing symptoms related to premenopause, menopause, postmenopause, or even intimacy issues, I want to tell you a little bit about how Bonafide's products can help you. One of their products, called Reverie, provides powerful hormone-free relief from vaginal dryness with an easy-to-use vaginal insert that renews your body's moisture for everyday comfort and intimacy. Another one of their products is Serenol, which provides relief from emotional PMS symptoms, including mood swings, irritability, and uneasiness. And if you're starting to experience menopause, hot flashes, and night sweats, Relazin will help you stay cool and dry all day and night. They also offer a product called Ristella that supports sexually active women who want to enhance their response to sexual stimulation by increasing orgasms and sexual arousal. Give Bonafide a try today. No hormones and no prescription required. Real relief without compromise. To get 20% off your first purchase when you subscribe to any product, go to hellobonafide.com and use the promo code IDO. That's hellobonafide, BONAFIDE.com, and use the code IDO, that's IDO, for 20% off at checkout. Today's episode is also brought to you by Native. My favorite part of this time of year is definitely the food. I can never get enough of how amazing everything smells. And speaking of smells, I have to tell you guys about Native's awesome new holiday-inspired scented products. With scents like candy cane, sugar cookie, and fresh mistletoe, you'll be smelling like the holidays all day long. I know you guys have heard me talk about Native's legendary aluminum-free deodorant, but in case you haven't, I want to tell you guys a little bit more about Native. Native's mission is to overhaul your entire hygiene routine by creating products that are made with simple ingredients like shea butter and coconut oil, so you can smell great all day long without using products that contain crappy ingredients like aluminum, parabens, and sulfates, all those products that we know are so bad for us. In addition to the amazing holiday smells, they have their classic smells like coconut and vanilla, lavender and rose, cucumber and mint, as well as an unscented option and a baking soda-free formula for those with sensitivities. Normally, my favorite go-to smell is the coconut and vanilla, but right now I am digging the sugar cookie. It smells so good that I'm constantly looking for a Christmas cookie. Giving the gift of self-care is easy with Native. Build yourself or your loved one's personalized product bundles by mixing and matching 3 of your favorite holiday scented products into one set. Stay merry, happy, and fresh this holiday season. You will love Native's limited time seasonal products as much as I do. Go to nativedeodorant.com and use the code IDO20 to get 20% off your first purchase at checkout. That's nativedeodorant.com, code IDO20 for 20% off. nativedeodorant.com, code IDO20.
And I love that point, and I've talked about it on the show in the past, that we don't need our partner, nor should we be asking our partner to change. We can communicate with our partner, but the power is the realization that the change you want in your life, in your relationship, starts with you. And so a lot of people listening, I imagine some are listening with their partner, but a lot are probably listening individually, and they're hearing these things. They're like, yeah, I want to do it, but my partner's not doing this, or they're not showing up. Certainly, those are important conversations that can be had, but I think the beauty of this idea is that we can take it into our own hands and be the first to act, and that in doing so, just through our actions, a lot of times our partner will change because of that positive energy, because of changing the dynamic. If you're in a negative cycle and you keep being negative, guess what? It's going to be negative. But if you turn it into something positive, you communicate differently. Even if your partner is not, they might keep banging their head against the wall, or they might go, this is different, and things start to change.
I love it, Chase, and I 100% agree. Somebody has to take the lead in the dance. So often people come to me and it's like, oh, this is going on, and can you help my partner? They come in with the idea of helping the partner. And then, I believe in 100% responsibility on both sides. It's not 50-50, it's 100-100. And it is a learning process, as you said earlier. The commitment to learning and self-growth, for me, I believe in lifelong learning. I don't care if you're a little kid or if you're 102, there's always something to learn. And when you can start to bring that into, again, that relational mind and the fabric between you, when you take the first step, this is important. I am going to read this book. I'm learning these things. And can we sit down and talk about it? And so often couples will say, we don't know what to talk about. Well, take a book, read it together. Or one of you reads it and says, hey, you know what? I read this book and I'm bringing, there's some ideas that really intrigue me. One of the ones I'm reading right now is The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and it's very powerful. He talks about, if you want to be free, you must accept the pain that's in your heart. It's in there. And what I tell people too, when you open your heart into relationship, which I think is part of being present, you open it to everything that's in there, not just the good stuff. You can't. If you're opening your heart truly, Brené Brown talks about wholeheartedness. It's all of it. And I guarantee you that nothing in this world is going to touch those places, those tender, wounded spots inside more readily than being in an intimate relationship with somebody. It just is how it works. So I think both are important. I think the work we do on ourselves and the individual work we do is powerful. And then I think there is a dynamic and a work that we engage in as couples that is so powerful too, because you get touched again, those little wounded places get touched. And on the other side of that wound and that pain, guarantee you, is joy. But when we block off the pain and when people put up walls and they withdraw, you don't have access to the intimacy and the joy that's in there too. So again, coming back to presence, I think it's all part of it. It's that wholehearted way of being. And as you said too, you struggle with it. Great. That means you're learning, and that means you're taking steps, and that means that something is going on, or there's something inside of you that maybe wants to do this more. Desire and longing is so important. And so when you're present with that too, and you can own it first inside of yourself, and then in conversations maybe you have with other people, it starts to get easier. It starts to unlock things. And as long as we try to not be afraid, or even if you're fear, Susan Jeffers said, feel the fear and do it anyway. That was a book that came out, I think, in the late 80s. You can be afraid. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. But then what do? Sit in it, befriend it, ask it what it has to teach you or show you, and open up into it. And I believe that there's something very spiritual about that too. And I'm talking religion. I'm talking about that sense of inner connection we have with our own inner wisdom. I believe there's an inner wisdom and there's a wisdom that is larger than us. And I don't care what religious background someone comes to, or even no religious background. It's that idea that there is this part of us that is wise. And the more we can clear out those rocks that we carry in our backpack, the more we can be present to our own wisdom, and the more natural it begins to become.
I love that. And I think we've set a great foundation for the importance of presence and how to be present. I want to talk a little bit about showing up in the relationship and how we show up, what that means to you and when you're working with clients, and how we can do it better.
I love that question. And I'm going to go back to something you referenced earlier about showing up, and that is sports. So somebody who is really involved in a sport, and let's take basketball, for example. When you show up, you are really paying attention and present with the dynamic of what is going on in the moment. You are paying attention to, the entire game. And your focus is on, the ball, the player, scoring, guarding, whatever your role is. And sometimes it's sometimes you're playing multiple roles. But the thing about showing up is you are showing up to whatever is going to occur. You're showing up, you're being present to the unpredictability. You're playing a sports game and you don't know what's going to happen next. You're in a relationship and you really don't totally know what's going to happen next. But when you bring your whole self to the table, as in the same way as you do, engaging in sports, I think that's what we're looking for. Sports are important. You want to win, and when you and have a good game, of course, sportsmanship and all that too. But, your idea is, you got your eye on the prize, if you will. And I think when you view your relational partner as that prize too, and putting effort into it, doing well in sports takes practice. You don't just jump out there on the field, even if you're really good, sports figures spend a lot of time in practice. So I think it's being willing to practice, being willing to try new things, being willing to read a book, talking to your partner about your intention. It's my intention to really be here for you. And, you check in and you say, how am I doing? It's like when you're working with a coach, for example, in sports, your coach is going to give you feedback. It's not just like you go out there and make it work. It's like, well, let's tweak this a little bit, or let's practice this shot, or, why don't you dribble this way? Be careful not to use two hands. And I think that when a couple can engage in that practicing with each other, it really helps, in the relationship. And it involves a commitment to both people showing up and giving it their all. And so that is true in life. Like you said, you're with your 6-year-old daughter. When she's with you, you show up, and that means that you're in that space with her. And, if you can, you shut off your cell phone and the other distractions. And I think showing up is prioritizing and its presence.
I love that metaphor, and I love that you chose basketball, because I played
awesome.
basketball, and yeah, it's such a great metaphor because we practice a lot, and the goal is to improve and to go for the win. But as I mentioned earlier, a lot of times we don't do that on our personal work, on our relationship work. And I'm talking about for myself, and I think I'm someone who's very interested in learning more about myself and ways I can improve my relationships. But it takes real effort. And if I think about, to continue with this idea of with sports, is I'd wake up at 5 a.m. and go practice before high school, for a couple hours, and after school I'd go again, and I loved it, and it was a bit more joyous and interesting than diving into the depths of our soul and looking at the ugly things that we don't really want to confront. But ultimately, they're going to be there. They're going to affect us. And it's really our life's work to dive into those things. And the reward is the win, is a better relationship with ourselves, a better relationship with our partners, friends, family, kids. And I just really encourage people to take that step. And I love the framing as someone who was an athlete of like, all right, if I was going and I wanted to make the high school team, I would have a certain level of commitment, focus, presence, and work into doing that, and to take that same thing into relationships. Obviously, you don't want to be too hard on yourself. You don't want to go crazy with trying to do it, because I think from personal experience, you can over focus on the relationship and self-improvement. I'm saying that, I guess, personally, but I know others might struggle with that too. But it's such a great way to frame it.
Love it. And I can hear the passion in your voice as you talk about basketball. And it doesn't mean that you 100% focus on that other person. You have to be careful that you're also showing up, like for you as a man, that you're showing up in that masculine essence and your strength. And sometimes, you know what, we're afraid to say no sometimes. And saying no, or not yet, or I can't, this doesn't work for me, is so important. And so it's also showing up and taking care of yourself and the other person. If I think about basketball, you practice individually and you practice as a team. And your individual skills feed into the team. And I think that you have to, in relationship, take care of yourself and take care of the relationship. And it's so critical, because we can get so caught up in, like I said before, that people pleasing. And people pleasing is a little bit about control. When you're doing everything for, you keep focusing on the other person, there is part of you that there's an expectation that you set up a guarantee somewhere in your brain that I'm doing this for them, but it's like, okay, I'm going to get that back too. You may not consciously think of that, but there's an element of that too. And when you quit taking care of yourself, it has a negative impact on the relationship. I tell people, what are you doing for you? Oh, I just want to be with them. Well, you know what? The more time you take to develop you as a person, the more intrigue and interest and curiosity also you cultivate in the relationship. And I think that's so important. And I want to mention one other thing. I think it's really important to acknowledge effort. Within yourself and within your relationship. Like, we have this idea, like, I want to be here. I want to have this awesome relationship, or whatever the thing is. I want to be this basketball star. Well, that means you're not going to do it perfectly. And you've got to have some room to fail, because we learn from the things that we quote unquote fail at, because it's just one more way of learning what to do and what not do. Or that didn't quite work. And when you're with a partner or with a child, it's acknowledging their effort. They want to know how to ride their bike. Okay. And then, to ride, remember myself and my dad and what a chore that was. But, you reward the effort. Wow. You actually, for a moment, I let go and you were riding by yourself. Okay. Then you fell. That's okay. But you did this. Not, oh, great, you can totally ride your bike now. You got it. But when we reward the effort, it's encouraging and it's inspiring someone to keep going and to keep going through, the missteps or the not quite yets. And I think that's a really important thing as you are, opening up to showing up. It's a shared space that you can share with a partner. How does that sound to you?
I love it. And I'm definitely charged up by this conversation and these ideas, and linking it back to my basketball days. But yeah, whatever you need to do to get motivated, because it is hard work and it doesn't stop, and it can be incredibly frustrating, especially maybe someone listening, their partner is not all that into it, or their partner receives them with a bit of negativity, and that could be demoralizing, but hang in there and go for that win. And I think it's so important, the things that we've covered today, Dr. Jeannie, and I love it. And I could talk to you for another hour or 2 or 3. I'm all caffeinated and excited right now about our conversation. I'm going to blame it on the caffeine. It's afternoon when I'm recording, so I got the afternoon jolt of my coffee. But I really enjoyed this conversation, Dr. Jeannie. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you where our listeners can find you online, if there's anything you want to leave with them. And I also want to mention one thing, a resource that you got me thinking about, and then we'll say goodbye. Let me mention the resource first. You mentioned if you don't know what to talk about with your partner, read a book or something like that. But I just did, and I had done it before, but it was a quite popular New York Times article based on psychology research. And I'm sure you've heard of this, but it's titled like the 36 questions to fall in love. And it sounds a bit like clickbait, but it's really based on research. And it's a series of questions to get to know someone better, but also can be great just conversation starters or different way to get to know your partner. So I highly encourage listeners to check that out. I'll put a link to that in the show notes. Have you heard of those 36 questions?
I have not, but I love it. I wrote that down to make notes for myself. I'm always looking for resource. And there's this card. There are these cards that are very similar that unfortunately I don't have in here. I gave them to a client to try out, but it's the same thing. You pull a card and you ask questions. And I think I love the 36 questions. So absolutely, I'm looking forward to getting your link on that too. Awesome. And I think that's what it's about too. It's like, oh, okay, let's try this. Or, even in my field, it's like, oh, that's interesting. It's to keep it alive. It's to bring other things that you're curious about or that you've heard of. And I think that's great.
Excellent. Yeah. Check it out. It's great with your partner, friends, family, just really good prompts.
Awesome. So regarding me, my website is livingandlovingcourageously.com, or even just lovingcourageously.com. I'm a URL-aholic, so I have lots of them. And, if someone goes onto the site, I have a download for them, which is an ebook, which is the 10 things you can do today to strengthen your relationship. And they're just mindset shifts, like, setting an intention, honoring your friendships. And it really walks you through some ideas that you can take in to strengthen your relationship and strengthen your relationship with yourself. So people can get a hold of me that way. My email is drjeanniemichelle@gmail.com, which is long, and it's drjeanniemichelle@gmail, and anyone that wants to reach out that way as well. So I'm happy to answer any questions, or if anyone has any curiosities. I love what I do too. And I love having conversations with people about love and up-leveling their life and their relationship.
Awesome, Dr. Jeannie. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge on today's show. We'll put the links to all that in the show notes and on the website at idopodcast.com. And again, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Chase. It's been fun. You're a great interviewer, and I love the going back and forth. I love your sense of aliveness. So thank you.
As always, thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. As always, all the links to the guest, as well as any of their recommendations, will be in the show notes page. You can find the link to that in the episode description or by going to idopodcast.com. Click on the podcast tab up at the top, and you will have access to all the episodes that we've ever done. There are over 300 of them. And while you're on our website, if you haven't checked out our free 14-day Happy Couple Challenge, we really hope you do. It's a free email challenge that we send to you. It's 14 days of fun, easy, doable challenges to help strengthen and improve your relationship. And if you're looking for something that provides a little more help with working on your relationship, whether it's improving intimacy or communication with your partner, or just bringing the spark back, we would love for you guys to check out our online course, Spark My Relationship. We're offering $100 off to all of our listeners if you go to sparkmyrelationship.com/unlock. We've worked with over 15 psychologists and therapists to create the real life tools and strategies that they are teaching their clients. So we wanted to give them to you. It's a self-paced online course that can be done in as little as a month or up to 3 months. You can really decide how much or how little you want to do with your partner, or maybe just yourself. So we hope you guys check that out. It's sparkmyrelationship.com/unlock. Have a great day.